Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to This Week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. This week's show, we are going to recap Rise 7. We're going to recap Third Coast Grappling, the second event. We are going to recap SAGC in College Park, SAGC Redemption, that myself, Emil, and Josh did commentary for. And then we are going to preview Subspectrum 8 and Fight to Win in San Diego, California. We are actually going to do two shows this week because there's so many events that happen this week. So Midwest Finishers 2 recap, as well as the Fight to Win 116 in Richmond, California recap will take place on a midweek show, just because us doing commentary on Sunday, there was basically just too much stuff to cover.
Yeah.
So as always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, joined with my co-host,
Emil.
How you doing, Emil?
Great. Yeah. So as Maine was saying, we spent basically the whole day on Sunday live commentating SAGC Redemption out in College Park. That was awesome. It's a really, really great event. We'll tell you more about that coming up. I had a blast doing it. I got to do it with Maine and Josh. And anytime the three of us can kind of get into one location, and three of any of Grappling Rewind, if it's Ryan Stark or Austin Jones, like it's always a blast. Yeah. So,
dude, it was a lot of fun, and Emil and I did it last time, but we threw Josh in there this time, and I'm super surprised that he did not say fuck, or that any of us didn't say fuck for 4 hours.
A 4-hour recording, and we didn't cuss, which is remarkable.
Joe was like, hey, if you guys couldn't cuss as much, I was like, oh no, do you know who we are? And he was like, I know, like if you guys can do it, it'd be cool. And we managed to do it for 4. So honestly, of all the things, that is one of the things I'm most proud of, is that we were able to actually not cuss for almost 4 hours straight.
Yeah, we'll see if I can keep that rolling.
Good luck.
Yeah, right.
So this week in news, there's really not a whole lot of news. Lovato won the Bellator title over Mousasi at 185. I think that is really, there's been no news this week.
Yeah, well, I would say a little bit of trash talk between Mergali and Keenan.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that in third. Is that really news, though?
Yeah,
basically, Mergali...
Yeah. We've thrown in stuff of that ilk before.
Yeah, so Mergali wants to face Keenan. After Mergali won... Spoilers here. After Mergali won his Third Coast match, he got on the mic and he was like, I want to face Keenan again. I want to get it back. So...
and he's been trash talking on Instagram as well.
Oh, has he? I've missed that. Oh, really?
Yeah. So basically, he was like... he was basically like, hey, enjoy your time off, whatever. I'm coming for you, more or less. Like, he was just there instigating. Obviously, Keenan has a rib injury that he's recovering from, and which, absolutely legitimate. But Mergali is not. He's just ready for
fight me now
a rematch, because he lost in absolute to Keenan on points off of a sweep. So,
yeah, basically, it wasn't even an ad. It was points. He actually literally got scored on.
Yeah, there's a sweep.
So
2-0, I think.
Yeah, that's really all the news.
Yeah.
There's guys talking shit, and us doing commentary, and Lovato winning a title.
Yeah.
Over Mousasi decision. So that's exciting. Let's move right into it. Let's go into Third Coast Grappling. So Third Coast Grappling ran their second event. Again, big thanks to Ryan McGuire for doing an interview with us last week. I really enjoyed it. We're going to try to do some more of those. We actually have an interview with the promoter for Jits King coming out next week before their event, so that's more exciting. If you're into those interviews, let us know. We're going to try to keep them really, really short. We're not trying to turn into an interview show, but there's some guys I would like to talk to, and I would like to talk to them and kind of share their information with our listeners on the show. So that's what we're going to try to do.
Before we get into the matches, just a brief thing about the kind of format for Third Coast. It's really great. 7 minutes is great for super fights. So we've talked ad nauseum about how much I like 6-minute matches for IBJJF tournaments. I think for tournaments, 6 minutes is good.
I think it forces guys to move, and it forces
fast.
action. Yeah.
And so in this case, this isn't a tournament; it's a series of super fights. I think 7 is perfect, right? Because you don't have to worry about people going, too far and stretching themselves too thin, but also you still don't want to just give them more time, because Maine and I have talked about this a lot, but more time, more jiu-jitsu is not necessarily better jiu-jitsu and more entertaining. People can view that and strategize around that extra time.
I think especially at the higher levels, like the guys that are on the main card for Third Coast. I mean, we had 6 or 7 matches for guys that we've seen headline other events. Like, it was a stacked top of the card, and those guys understand how to win in a rule set. And if you give them more time, they're gonna conserve and expect them to go that full time. So if you shorten those matches up,
entertaining matches and interesting win conditions, because not only is there a submission, but if you're the first person to get to 11 points through a sort of standard IBJJF style points scoring,
no ads,
you win. And so that's an interesting format. There's still overtime if you don't get a submission or you don't get to 11 points.
Right. So you can basically tech fall the guy, and if you are unable to tech fall the guy or submit them in regulation, you go to overtime. And the overtime is really interesting. It's basically a coin flip, and then somebody chooses a position, and the other person chooses top or bottom. So I can choose guard, and then Emil will go, okay, I choose pass. So Emil's going to be in top, trying to pass my guard. I'm trying to sweep him over, and the first person to score in that kind of golden score is the winner.
Yep, score, submission, wins in overtime. So anyway, getting into the matches, we have Nicholas Mergali defeating Cyborg Abreu by loop choke.
What was that last name?
Abreu.
Now I'm like concerned. Cyborg. I'm going to call him Cyborg. I thought in the results he's listed as Cyborg.
Yeah, exactly.
Just Cyborg Abreu.
Yep.
So this went exactly how we thought it was going to go, honestly. We thought Mergali was going to sub because that is what
he's just been dominant. He's been demolishing the best of the best, right? Like Muhammad Ali, defending heavyweight champ. He submitted him in the finals of IBJJF. He's just been running through everybody.
And we talked about in 2018.
He submitted Kaynan Duarte, right?
Are you putting me on the spot now?
Yeah.
I think maybe he might have done that. I think he did Brazilianos.
Yeah,
Brazilianos he did it. I thought I was thinking about Worlds. I don't think he did Worlds.
No. Yeah.
But in 2018, if Mergali beat you, he submitted you. That kind of frames like the kind of fighter Mergali is, and Cyborg coming in. Cyborg's not really currently at the top of the heap in the weight class. He's still very, very good in an elite black belt. But honestly, I put Cyborg more as a no-gi guy recently.
Yeah.
And
so Mergali ends up pulling guard. He gets a kind of standard cross collar and sleeve. And this was alarming because, like, within the first minute, this is a bread and butter kind of guard. There's nothing crazy going on here. And Cyborg found himself inside of a triangle in the first minute. That's like quick. Alarming. This wasn't like a crazy, sneaky anything. It's just he was in a triangle. He was already threatened.
You
really
talked about it, and I think this match for me more than anything, almost even more than the Muhammad Ali match, like cements how freakishly strong Mergali is. Like, he's just a different kind of. Like, he's that low-key, like, doesn't really look that strong. He looks like a tall, lanky guy.
Yeah,
and then
he's lanky, but
he grips you, and you're like, oh, this is a different kind of dude.
Yeah, no, he can move someone like Cyborg around.
And Cyborg addressed the triangle really, really well. Like, he was calm, and he just kind of, like, went through the positions, and eventually he's able to kind of free himself out of the triangle.
So, and then ultimately, Cyborg's doing this kind of old-school double under passing where he's on his knees, and his head is really low, and Mergali just sees that, and he just leans up, gets a loop choke, sticks his arm through for kind of like a Japanese-style finish.
Pretty much the exact same thing we saw he throw on Keenan.
Yep.
That was a weird way to say that. Pretty much the exact same thing we saw him throw on Keenan during the Worlds.
Yeah, so he sweeps Cyborg over and then just gets an immediate tap. So, yeah, it was a dominant match.
It honestly went on a lot longer. I forget how long, but it was like 4 or so minutes into the match. Like it was significantly longer than I thought. I was kind of impressed with Cyborg's ability to be active, but not leave him in a place for that loop choke or to have something get submitted by some other way. I kind of was surprised that it took Mergali this long to finish. Mergali's not a hugely fast starter, but like he started at pretty much the same pace we usually see him start at, and then Cyborg was able to defend, and eventually gets caught.
Yep. So next match we have Matheus Diniz defeating Craig Jones via takedown in overtime. So this was, it seemed like there was going to be a high pace from standing. Matheus hits a nice single leg from sort of like a diving seated guard, and Craig is in full guard, latches on for a Kimura for a long time, and ultimately
he really wanted that Kimura. I think there's like 2 times in the match that he kind of locks it up
later on. Yeah. So they separate this time. There's like many minutes of standing, and Jones pulls guard with 45 seconds left and goes for another Kimura, but this one was a lot more extended. But
this one was honestly, it wasn't like super close, but it definitely required Matheus to defend more, and you could tell like, man,
he had to roll over a little bit.
Yeah, if he messes this up, like Jones can really take this out, and Jones is a really, really good finisher once he gets on something, and so I was kind of wasn't like concerned is the right word, but like I thought, Jones might be able to finish this, but he just didn't have enough time, and he kind of had to like rush through it in order to try to get there, and he just was unable to do it in regulation.
Right. So in overtime, Craig shoots, Matheus sprawls, and then times just an amazing blast double as Craig is getting up from his own shot.
this is that wrestling. This is like that next level where guys like are timing, because jiu-jitsu guys I find tend to stand. I want to say lazy is like not the right word there, but they tend to stand up and like kind of expect both guys to like
reset,
and like you're seeing it more and more in ADCC. We saw John Calistine get hit with this in ADCC trials. Like guys kind of just will stand up, and the guy that's in a lower position will go, I'm going to shoot here.
Right.
And that's what we saw here. And Matheus shoots in, gets Craig down, and is able to win in overtime.
Yep. So really wonderfully timed takedown.
Yeah, I was kind of honestly a little surprised with not surprised, but the pacing of this match was a little slower than I would have liked. There was a lot of time. It almost felt like they were feeling each other out, like it was going to be a longer match.
Yeah, these guys kind of...
It goes back and forth because both these guys can have like Matheus in the Worlds, like with that back and forth with Duarte, Craig Jones and his ADCC run. Like both these guys can have really
back and forth with Hulk. But yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, not Duarte. Really, really fun matches, but they can also have matches like this that were a little on the slower side.
Yeah, and my bias tends to, when I see their names, think of those exciting times, but just like more recently, I feel like the matches have been a little bit more like this, more feeling out.
But then we get matches with Craig Jones and like versus Gabriel Arges at Grapple Fest, where it's like a really exciting back and forth match, and he's able to take the back and finish. So it's like Craig kind of goes back and forth with these kind of matches, like just during Third Coast, and like the matches where he's just all over a guy.
Yeah, it's hard to predict, but anyway. Next match we have Edwin Najmi defeating Gianni Grippo by sweep in overtime. So in regulation time, Gianni pulls De La Riva.
Dude, Najmi is bigger here.
He's huge.
Like the commentary picked up on this. I picked up on this.
They were like, they were talking about how Edwin was a lightweight and Gianni was a featherweight, and it was evident. And
Gianni's a good size featherweight, but Najmi's a good size. Like, he is literally a full weight class above, if not then some. I think he's cutting some serious weight to even get down to lightweight.
So Gianni pulls De La Riva, he inverts, and Edwin reads it immediately, leaps into it, nearly taking the back and coming into a strong leg weave position. Gianni gets out, and Edwin throws like a bunch of his steamer locks, basically. Gianni plays a lot of open guard and likes to sort of kick off lightly with the leg.
He likes to touch.
And each time he did that, Edwin would grab it and throw in a steamer lock.
One thing I thought was really interesting here was how he was throwing them to like disincentivize that kind of style of guard retention and like that sort of style of pushing, but he would throw them like not in the chest when you see like under the rib cage where you really see the steamer lock get finished a lot. He was throwing them almost on the top of the pec.
Yeah.
When it's like I very rarely see guys that are ever able to finish. Again, bigger guys can do it, but I thought that I was kind of curious as to why he was throwing them, if to just disincentivize the position, or if he had like he was actually looking for the finish.
It didn't look like he was going for the finish because
it's so hard to finish.
The times that I've seen people really finish it is when they actually start to lift up.
Like, they lift up, and a lot of times they'll lift up and either fully like stand up with the position,
or
what they'll do is they'll lift up and they'll jump.
Yeah.
And they'll basically jump across the leg and still have that steamer lock in their chest. I'm holding it, and no one can see it here because this is just audio. So that's why I was kind of curious, because you never really saw Najmi like really want to commit and get really high to like give up the De La Riva or anything else like that. He'd kind of stay in that low stance when he would do it, and that was an interesting thing. I'm kind of curious to see. I'm curious to what he was looking to do there, or looking to disincentivize with those steamer locks.
So in overtime, there was a near sweep exchange. And Edwin's able to come up, get a body lock on Gianni from behind, and wrestle him down to get the points for the win. So
he honestly really like he kind of slammed him. He was kind of a big lift and like it's that big brother takedown behind, just the lift and the slam, and gets the points and comes up and is excited. It was a fun match. It was really dynamic between the two grapplers. We saw a lot of stuff from both guys that we don't see as much of. So that's really why I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So next up, we have an awesome match. Definitely go back and watch this one. Vagner Rocha defeating Ethan Crelinsten by sweep in overtime.
These are dudes that always have awesome matches.
They're always awesome. I mean, like, I can't think of a Vagner Rocha match that's boring, or an Ethan.
We say that sometimes. I'm thinking back, like, when is the last Vagner Rocha match that I have not enjoyed? I'm thinking like it may be before pre-ADCC 2017. Like, I can't think of a match that I've seen Vagner on where it was like, that was a bad match.
Yeah.
Like, he's had slower paced matches, but it was never like a boring match. Like,
no.
I can only.
It's always dynamic. He's always moving.
He's always going for the sub too. He's always trying. Like, Vagner is always trying to fuck you up.
Yeah,
is the best way to put it. When you ever see Vagner Rocha compete,
we saw from Vagner immediate toe holds. With Crelinsten answering with an outside heel hook. Vagner gets on top, does a beautiful back step. Ethan answers with a beautiful regard. So there's just like this awesome back and forth that goes on throughout this entire match. And I remember being like, oh my God, this match is amazing. And, feeling like it was just about to end. And I looked down at the clock and it was only halfway through because there's just so much.
I did the same thing. I looked down,
so much movement.
There's 4 minutes left in this match?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's just like, it's just so dynamic. So,
but it wasn't just like some matches get like that, and it's just movement for movement's sake. This was not one of those matches.
No,
Both guys wanted things from the movement.
Right. So in overtime, Vagner pulls guard. Ethan has some amazing passing, but overcommits on one of the passes, and Wagner's able to sweep him overhead, basically.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. Just like a really small mistake from Ethan. Again, I think these guys are in the same ADCC bracket, so I think honestly, Grippo, dude, we saw like 5 guys on this event that are in ADCC.
Yeah.
So I would honestly not be surprised to see this one if these guys are bracketed on the same side, again at ADCC.
Right, absolutely. So then last up of the matches that we're going to cover are Gilbert Durinho Burns. Marcelo Azevedo by choke.
And you were unconfident in that name.
Yeah. Marcelo pulls guard. Durinho gets to an over-under position off of kind of like a scrambly pass. And Marcelo reads it as kind of like a traditional over-under, so he kind of overcommits to leaning to that side. And Durinho just like basically goes around the leg. So on an over-under, you can go either way. And the traditional way is to go on the outside of the leg. And Durinho basically was able to see the overcommit and go through the inside of the leg and immediately get to side control.
Those small little
just
tiny little mistake, and you saw, and Durinho went, "Oh, cool! I've seen he's done this. He's made this tiny mistake that for most matches is never gonna matter." But dude, former world champion, like top level grappler, and he's a guy doing MMA, but still consistently competing in grappling at the high level, and he can see those little teeny tiny mistakes.
So he eventually gets Durinho eventually gets to back control, and he gets a collar choke with less than 10 seconds in regulation. So he's able to win the match by submission.
Dude, so it was like I did not think he was gonna. I was like, man, he's gonna have to sell out for this, and he gets it. And I was like, damn, in regulation.
Yeah, it was exciting finish.
Let's keep going. Yeah, let's keep going with the rest of the card.
We got Mike Perez defeating Travis Moore by guillotine. Lucas Valente defeating Marcio Andre by decision. Andressa Sintra defeating Nina Mura by toe hold. Manuel Hibamar defeating Hunter Newton by sweep in overtime. Jordan Hawley defeating Marvin Castell 2-0.
Dude, this was a heel hooky kind of match.
That was a real heel hooky match. There was a lot of that going on.
But again, you knew both these guys. It was like, someone's gonna try to take a foot home in this one, and then basically Jordan's able to get it off because he selects his position. Like he's like, I want to be from guard, and Marvin's like, I want to pass, and then eventually, they go back and forth a little bit. Marvin stands up, and Jordan's just able to hit, I think, a double ankle on him, and eventually just get up and over and gets the 2 points, and that's all it is.
We have Ignacio Neto defeating Vinicius Ferreira by judge's decision. Cody Steele defeats DJ Jackson by judge's decision. Pedro Marinho defeats Roberto Jimenez by rear naked choke in overtime.
Go back and watch this one. We are going to be seeing a ton more of both of these guys on bigger events, especially they're both. I think Pedro just got brown belt. Roberto's been brown belt for a little bit.
Roberto is that brown belt who moves like he's like he's a huge brown belt, and he moves like a featherweight.
Yeah.
It's insane how quickly he moves.
So go back and watch. Whenever you see both these guys on a card, they're still like lower belt in quotes there. Watch them because they both put on super exciting matches, and they are definitely dudes that we're going to see on the main card of stuff for the foreseeable future.
Oh yeah. Mike Trin defeats Marcel Woodard in overtime by golden score. Jonathan Dowdle defeats Ruben Bueno by tech fall. William Tackett defeats Danny Gutierrez by arm triangle. Douglas Hernandez defeats Tony Fitzgerald by tech fall. Victor Doria defeats Raul Jimenez by a sweep in overtime.
So there's one match I want to talk about that I want to kind of go back a little bit. I want to talk about Ruben Bueno versus Jonathan Dowdle. This was a para match.
Yeah. So both competitors were amputees, and
John was a double amputee and Ruben is a single leg amputee. When we always like to talk about these matches because they present a bunch of really different grappling problems that you just don't get a chance to see a whole lot of.
It was a really exciting match too, and both competitors just absolutely committing to it and bringing the heat. There's a lot of really good and obviously completely unique passing that was occurring here on Jonathan's part in particular, and also really interesting regarding. The whole thing was it presents an interesting problem, and so actually one of my first instructors was an amputee too, and like it was phenomenal learning from him because he had a very unique perspective, and B, you have no better demonstration that jiu-jitsu can be adapted however you need it to for your particular body style, whatever, like than amputees, and you can see them excel and completely adapt their games based on whatever, however they were born. And this was really exciting.
For instance, I think Jonathan's actually a vet.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for instance, Jonathan here, he gets the back control, and you're wondering, he has no legs here. He can't throw hooks in for back control. So what he does that Marcelo, you were talking about, it's a Marcelo style, like back control, where you just grab the neck like a crossface, you take your underhand in the gable grip under their arm, and you pull them down, but you actually sprawl your back out. So your shoulder is behind their head, and you're not necessarily using it to like finish a choke immediately. You're trying to posture them down to basically get a better hand position to finish it there.
So you'll see Marcelo Garcia do this on his knees, but yeah, in this case, it was the perfect mechanics for it. And I'm sure he has his own adaptations as well. But yeah, it was incredible. Basically, the whole match, you see these completely new adapted jiu-jitsu techniques.
And I think it's really interesting. I'm kind of curious about these two guys. Like, have they had to face other guys that are partially amputees? Like, how much actual experience do they get competing against guys and training with guys that have a similar body style that they have?
Yeah.
Because, like, they both seem to, like, there was no, like, area you saw in this match where both guys were like, I don't know how to deal with it. It was like, okay, this is what I do. Like the regarding from Ruben was phenomenal with that single leg. Every time John would kind of hop over the one leg,
just pummel it back in.
Just pummel it back in. And like you saw even on the thigh, like even on, because Jonathan didn't have like below the knees, you saw that Ruben would keep his legs real high in the thigh and like push away and like did a lot of very, very little things and like really good off-handing with the hip. It was just a really interesting match to watch.
So that regarding actually might have worked against Ruben Bueno in this particular rule set because Jonathan was able to repeatedly pass and basically he was able to rack up 12 points and tech fall Ruben. So, but yeah, it's a really exciting
match. The full video is not up yet, but it's about a little more than halfway through. Highly recommend you go back and watch it. It was a really cool match.
You can watch the entire event. The entire event video is up. They just haven't parceled out all of the matches into individual videos.
And I assume they'll do that in the next couple of days, but I think it's cool that the entire event was 5 hours, 55 minutes, 55 seconds. That's kind of, I always like when stuff like lines up like that. So that was it for Third Coast Grappling. Highly recommend you go back and rewatch it. It was a lot of fun. Some really, really good matches. Again, more matches than we could even get to on the show because we don't want the show to be 45 minutes longer than it usually is. And Emil and I are both super, super tired. I gotta peel behind the curtain. We're both exhausted from Sunday. So speaking of Sunday, we are now going to recap SAGC Redemption. This event took place in College Park, Maryland at College Park MMA. Shout out to Josh Peters for letting everyone use the facility there. We did commentary. The Grappling Rewind, Maine, myself. I always do that. Maine, myself, Emil, and Josh.
Yeah.
I have top and bottom billing there. We did commentary. You can listen to the whole event on Facebook. We actually cross-linked it over on our page as well. So if you're looking to hear the event and hear how well we did on commentary, you can listen to it there. It was a lot of fun. So you want to talk about the rule set for SAGC?
Yeah, so SAGC does an endurance format, and that's 3 5-minute rounds. The rounds can only be ended by submission, and when you get a submission, you get a match point.
The rounds can be ended by submission or by 5 minutes.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's true.
So time, or for the first 3 rounds, it's either submission or time. So you sub your opponent in round 1, 4 minutes in, you have a 30-second break, and you go into the second round. And you need basically 2 subs to win, or after 3 rounds, if somebody has a sub, they win. But if it's tied...
You don't need 2 subs to win. It's just...
Sorry.
Yeah. Two subs will end. If you get a sub in the first round and a sub in the second round, they will not have a third round. But whoever has the most subs at the end of the match wins. So that is to say, if, you could win by 1 sub, you could win 2-1, but we actually didn't see any 2-1s. We saw usually people winning 2-0 or 1-0.
Yeah, and they're either winning usually in the first round and the third round is what we saw a lot of.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did see a few overtimes as well.
Yeah, so if it's even, if it's tied, or if there's a non-scoring, there's 3 non-scoring regulation times, you go into an unlimited, no time limit overtime where you gotta sub someone.
Yep, that's it. So we actually saw 3 of those. But
Yep.
yeah. So really
It's endurance.
interesting format.
It's endurance format.
A lot of really entertaining matches. And SAGC, this is the second one that we've covered. Both times have been a ton of fun. Both times have been like really awesome pacing, very, very good, quick overall promotion. So yeah, it was a ton of fun. And yeah, we can tell you more about the matches.
Yeah, we're not gonna honestly. We're gonna preview this. We're gonna recap this a little less than we do for a lot of events, just because we if you want to see the event, you want to hear us talk about it. I just want to don't really want to reiterate what we just said on the broadcast. We're gonna say a lot of the same things, so we're gonna,
It'd be weird to
it'd be weird
redo
to,
that.
literally just like we already commentated on it once. It'd be weird to just kind of rehash this. I know the audiences are a little bit different, but so we're gonna recap it a little bit differently.
So, and you will see plenty of highlights on our Instagram too, if you want to see what that was like live.
No pressure, Emil. Like I gotta edit all those now.
Yeah. So there was an undercard, 7 matches. The first of the undercard, we have Edwin Albino defeating Vic Kuhner, 2 match points to nothing with a guillotine and a calf slicer. We have Rashid Perez. Thank you. I put his gym affiliation in there in an awkward position. He's from Renzo Gracie Academy, and I was like, his last name is not Renzo.
Big shouts to Emil here, by the way. Emil did commentary, dealt with Josh and I for 4 hours, didn't curse, and took notes on how all the matches went. So if anyone doesn't understand how difficult that is, I couldn't do it. Emil does this because I am incapable of doing it. It is extremely difficult to do. So Emil, big shouts to you. Great job. So if anything's wrong or written a little weird,
blame me.
It's totally Emil's fault.
So Rashid Perez defeats Nathan Chrislip 2-0 in match points by armbar / shoulder lock and straight ankle. That was a really exciting match. Rashid, again from Renzo Gracie, doing amazing stuff.
Dude, really, really active, nice transitions, really fast-paced match from him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, all of the undercard matches were
super exciting. So out of the 7 undercard matches, 5 of them ended 2-0 those are the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
So basically 2 quick submissions.
I think the undercard was over in 55 minutes.
Yeah, it was an hour.
Or something like that. It was just
I remember checking.
Bam, 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 bam.
7 matches that are up to 3 rounds each in an hour. It's just super, super
So those
fast.
matches can go up to 15 minutes if it's in regulation, if not longer. So that alone gives you an idea of the pacing of this card. We were in and out in, I was there all day, but
total of 16 matches in 4 hours.
yeah, a little under 4 hours, which is funny because Facebook actually cuts off broadcasts at 4 hours, and I was looking at the time at 4:40 or 3:40 in the last match. I was like, oh man, if these guys go deep in overtime, this could be a problem for the broadcast, but we got it done.
So then we have Tom Selmayr from 10th Planet Bethlehem defeating Desmond McDonald 1-0 by a steam lock in the third. So that was there was an awesome finish because we're sitting there oh man, okay, we're gonna see our first overtime, and then boom, out of nowhere, a steam lock.
Yep.
Just crowd was.
And Josh was actually supposed to go
into
against Tom, so it was cool to see Desmond stepping up and taking that match on pretty honestly, I think a week out, really relatively short notice. So.
Yeah.
And he again made it all 3 rounds, and only was able to get only got subbed in the last minute of the third round.
That. Yeah.
Really close to the end.
So then we have Jules Knighton defeating Bianchi Zimmerman 2-0 on match points by Darce and Triangle.
Dude, that Darce was deep as shit.
Yeah,
we were
my
we were
man.
2.5 feet away. Looking, I was like, man, that is a deep Darce.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, Josh did the thing where he was like, yeah, and the submission's gonna come any second now. He's predicting the tap.
You could
one of
look.
those.
I saw the veins in the face. I was like, that is an extremely deep Darce.
Yeah. So Robert Deagle also from Renzo Gracie defeats Alice Caraday 2-0 in match points by heel hook and heel hook.
And Emil thought he looked like Eddie Cummings.
He did look like Eddie Cummings.
He also had a similar game to Eddie Cummings too.
Yeah,
a really similar flared out butterfly game and just going for the heel hooks.
Yeah, he was doing those really amazing pummels into saddle.
Yeah,
it was just they'd be in sort of double seated open guard or open guard, and then it was just instant pummel, and then he was in a dangerous saddle off the bat.
I was really excited because again, I'm learning the leg stuff and I'm learning how to name the positions and how to do live commentary and how to do this show better, because that's again a big portion of what we do is development to make the show better. This was really cool to see this up close and personal, just how fast he could enter into those pummeled positions and like where his feet were going and how he was inverting over the shoulder and how he was changing the hip angle. Like really, really nice drilled technical entries on Ellis, and it was just eventually he enters a bunch of times. Ellis is able to get out, some running man escapes, some turning escapes, and eventually Robert's able to get it done and get 2 heel hooks in 2 different rounds.
Yeah. So next match we have Rene Souza, I think also of 10th Planet Bethlehem, defeating Kobe Rowland 2-0.
He's from 10th
in
Planet.
Match points by triangle armbar and Darce. Both of those submissions came within 40 seconds. This was an incredible performance by Rene, and he must be fucking strong as shit because this is a no-gi match. And if you recall, the triangle was the one where Kobe had a good defense.
I thought you were gonna describe what a triangle was.
No. He had a good defense where
Yeah.
he had looped his legs around to begin posturing back. And usually when someone does that, they get out. Like, I would say if you can get your legs back around the person who's attacking you, you have a greater than 50% chance of getting
way
more
greater.
than
Like,
that.
you almost never see a triangle finished when a guy gets the legs in front of the body like that. I call it a crab position. I don't know why I call it like that.
Yeah, I don't
but
know.
it's like you almost never see it finished.
But that did not deter Rene. He grabs the arm, and this is, again, no-gi, so it's not like you can get solid grips there, and just yanks him back in and gets the submission. It was fucking crazy.
Super impressive. And also, I loved it because the commentary, they were facing the commentary booth, so you could see all the adjustments, and it was cool. Again, I love, like, doing SAGC for this because it's usually a smaller venue, and you're right up close next to the action. This one was Kumite style, so like there's everyone around all sides of the mat, and we were sitting in chairs and got to look down on everything, and it was just it was an awesome finishing sequence here.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we have my favorite match of the evening, and I highly recommend you go back and watch this match, if not just the highlights. Eric Naples defeating Rafael Pichardo 1-0 in match points by an armbar in the 3rd round. This match was fucking awesome. It was really good. It was hard not to cuss in the middle of this because this was a really explosive match. These were 2 pretty lighter guys. I think they were both 130 pounds.
I think they were 25ers. I think Naples weighed in at 25.
No, they were 130.
Okay, Naples' card said 125, and we've seen him compete at 25 before as well.
Yeah. Wow. Just like incredible takedowns. Incredible technique all the way around. We even saw a really sneaky no-gi baseball bat choke setup. Like, we were
Emil
sitting
and I
there,
are both huge fans of this.
Josh called. He's like, "Oh my god, I think he's setting up a no-gi baseball bat choke." And then, that's how sneaky it was. Like, none of us had seen that until Josh pointed it out. And we see this arm snaking up back around the head, and then the monkey grip, and he just starts ripping it. It's fucking awesome. Just rolling back takes. Incredible jiu-jitsu,
dude.
all around.
I love watching like 20 guys that are like anything below like 140, really like 130.
Yeah.
Dudes move at a different speed.
And I think, as I recall, like one or both of these guys started training like when they were kids, and it's very obvious. Like they were moving like people who had been training.
They just closed that space off really well. We saw Eric kind of climb to the same position over and over again. Eventually, that armbar is just beautiful. Like, watch the adjustments that he makes in the air to get the armbar after the turnover are really cool. Honestly, the camera angle for the match is really, really good at capturing. You can basically see Eric make an adjustment in the air to throw the leg over in order to get the armbar and to extend it out and to get the finish. So it was a great finish. Really, really fun match. I really enjoyed it.
In fact, I think we will retroactively call this a rewind recommends. It's just an awesome match.
It was a lot of fun.
So then there's a 155-pound bracket, a 10-man bracket, where the top 2 competitors, the 2 finalists, will get to compete for the 155-pound title belt at SAGC 8. This was super exciting. So in the first match of the bracket, we have Mario Perricone defeating Nicholas Ramirez 2-0 match points by rear naked, face crank, and guillotine. This is the match.
Did he break his nose?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if he broke it, but this is the match where there's a giant nosebleed after that face crank. And so it was funny because Maine had stepped up, and I can't remember what you were trying to deal with.
I think I was doing something with the broadcast. Like, I think I was talking to Joe where there was some issue with the audio, and I was trying to adjust the audio, so I kind of looked away for a second.
Mario on the back just cranking this like face crank, and I was talking in the mic being like, Maine would Maine loves this shit.
And I looked over, I was like, "Oh shit, a face crank!"
Yeah,
And I get when I'm turning from doing like audio and like technical side to back over. There's about a 4-second thing where I just get super fan. I'm like, "Don't cuss, don't cuss, don't cuss."
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, unfortunately for Nicholas, his nose, was bleeding. Josh actually stepped in and was able to apply some first aid and staunch the bleeding so that we, got a second
Staunch
match.
the bleeding?
Yeah.
What do we mean, the 1830s?
That's what you fucking do, dude. You staunch the bleeding.
Okay.
Anyway, so we had the second match.
Is that a fancy
and
word for stop?
There was a guillotine, and it was a little, it's a little hard to tell whether or not, Nicholas had to tap from the choke or if it was just re-aggravated his nose because he came back bleeding all over again. But really excellent work by Mario. He's out of Marcelo Garcia Academy. Yeah. And you could see that in his style.
Dude, he had a super tight squeeze. You could tell, like, whenever he locked up with the guy, and he has a wrestling base, and you could tell that whenever he locked a guy, you're like, man, this dude is like has a weird squeeze and has a strong squeeze.
Yeah. So next match we have Matt Dvory defeating Quinn Poirier, 1-0 match points by no arm triangle in the first. Holy shit! That was like, I thought it was just a regular triangle until Maine pointed out that.
I was like, no, that was no arm.
Yeah, but he did the awesome adjustment where he had his arm in in order to finish.
I think actually they turned away, but he set it up initially like that because I actually remember I had to look over.
Matt got the choke and he had stuck his own arm in there in order to get like a greater. Harder choking surface.
I have a really special place in my heart for this particular finish because this in jiu-jitsu was the first move I ever hit on someone where in training I was like a white belt and I was training and I went for triangle and I didn't have it and I was like, okay, I was like, I bet I can put my arm here and like choke this guy, and I did it and it worked. And I was like, wow, like I realized that I could make adjustments like during rolling where it's like, okay, no one's ever shown me this, but I can take what I know and hit this. And that was literally the first thing I ever tapped a guy with at white belt that was like not like a standard, like in quotes there, like triangle or move I learned. I figured this problem out while I was rolling, and so I have a really special place in my heart for that move.
So then John Lyons defeats Cy Webb 2-0 in match points by heel hook and heel hook. This was sort of like a rehash of matches that we'd seen last year that we called. We'd seen Cy Webb also compete the year before at SAGC, and that year too he'd lost by 2 heel hooks, and so he did a great job. And that's not to say that this was a really exciting match. Like it was really, really good.
And we saw like huge improvements from Webb here. Like,
John Lyons ultimately ended up being one of the people that progressed onwards. So it was. He's very proficient with leg locks, and that's how he had won. Basically, he went through the entire tournament.
Every guy sub with leg locks. He subbed with heel hooks, I think, actually.
Yeah. So really excellent match. And John Lyon proceeds. AJ Deshami defeats Josh Peters 2-0 by Darce and heel hook.
Josh stepped in on, I think, about an hour
notice,
like less than that. So no, we left to go. So we were having a problem with the broadcast, so Emil and I actually had to leave and go to Guitar Center and buy another piece in order to connect all the audio into the actual broadcast. And when we left, I think we left at 1:40 or something like that. Josh Peters was not in the bracket. And when we returned, it was determined, like, okay, the guy is not going to show up. And Peters was like, I'll take the match. And Peter weighed in at 118.
Yeah.
For a 155-pound bracket.
Yeah, there was a huge size difference here.
So that is stepping up in a time of need. Of like, cool, you're running the event at my place. I'm helping with some other stuff, helping get set up. Oh, and then I'll jump into the bracket 30 plus pounds lighter than the guy that I'm fighting.
Yeah. So next match we have Mike Villeneuve defeating Chris Hurl 2-0 by match points by rear naked choke and rear naked choke.
Let's talk about how gangster Mike is.
Yeah.
Basically, he was the 155-pound champion. He relinquished his belt.
I think it was 150.
Was it? I thought it was 55.
I think it was 150. I saw it. And so unless there's a typo.
I think it was a typo because I think he was the previous champion. I talked to Joe about this, and he's like, yeah, he's giving up his title in order to enter this bracket to basically earn another shot to fight for his own belt at SAGC 8.
That's dope.
Which is like, that's some gangster shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's literally the definition of putting it all on the line. Like, you relinquish your title to go into like a tough bracket to fight for your belt again.
And he's really fucking good. Like, absolutely.
He had one of the best matches we covered on the last SAGC.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, on to the second round of the bracket, we had Matt Dvory defeating AJ Deshani 2-0 by match points, heel hook and heel hook. And then we have John Lyons defeating Mario Perricone in overtime, 16 minutes.
41 seconds.
41 seconds by Texas Cloverleaf. From behind. I mean, like,
Dude,
Mario was
way
dominating this match. He was showing his wrestling chops. He was taking down, passing, getting to mount, getting to side control.
This was a slower paced match, and we saw for round 1, round 2, round 3. Mario and John would do this very similar things. Eventually, Mario would get around the legs, probably about 2 minutes left. He'd get into side control. He'd establish top position. He'd get to neon belly, and he'd start cooking John. Start cooking John. He'd kind of get to the top position. He'd start working for an arm, and then time would run out. And that happened round 1, round 2, round 3. Happened twice in the overtime.
In overtime, I mean, props to these guys. Like, John looked exhausted.
They've already
Mario
had matches
looks
before this.
exhausted. Mario, and Mario was super impressive because he was at one point in overtime, understandably having his hand on his hips, breathing hard, and his corner would be like, "Hey, no lazy moves here," and he would ratchet it back up to a pace like he had not just been wrestling for 30 minutes.
No, 30 minutes in this match.
Yeah.
He had matches before this, and John had matches before this. I'm gonna get across, like, yeah, this is I'm gonna quote a little slower of a match, but like these guys have both been going for 45, 50 minutes.
This is the match where Mario got that neon belly that was more like neon ribs.
Yeah,
and
on
it
the
was just
floating
like
ribs.
Cooking John.
And I was like, yo, he's gonna tap me here. And you could see John like bearing it and like it was one of the phases where it's like, I'm not gonna tap to this, but I may have to tap to this. Like, I may not have a choice. Like, my ribs are going to break, or it's like, I just cannot take this anymore. And he weathers the storm, and he gets one opening in this entire match.
And he gets a Texas Cloverleaf and gets the sub. It was a great match. So next, we have Matt Dvory in his third match of the evening, defeating Mike Villeneuve in overtime. 3 minutes and 36 seconds.
So these guys had met before.
Yep.
And Mike had actually won the title off of Matt at the previous event where he won the title.
Right. And this is another match where Mike was ahead, if you were to go by standard kind of positional dominance, Mike was absolutely controlling this. And, again, just incredible pressure. Like, Mike he looked like he had a devastating side control. And
tight, good pressure, great passing, great hip movement, great, like, he would get low on his hip, but he wouldn't just, like, lay. He would be, like, active low. Yep. It was cool to see.
And yet again, Matt was able to weather the storm and get the heel hook. And I'm pretty sure it was this match. Matt basically got up, they raised his hand, and then he ran over and grabbed a bucket and booted.
Was it Matt?
Yeah, it was Matt.
Okay. Yeah, because all the guys that were in the main event here were like dying at the end. Because it was like, man, this endurance format is brutal. So all the guys came in like in good shape in cardio. All of them pushed the pace. I was actually really impressed that all of them were able to push a pace like this for as long as they did. Like, at no point did these guys like get bullshitty and stally with like, cool, we get you're tired, but they were going until the end. Like, dude, this is a lot of fun. So, want to go on the main event?
Yep. So we have in this main event super fight, Andrew Cockle defeating Sean Ashley in overtime, 4 minutes and 40 seconds into it by heel hook. We are huge fans of Andrew Cockle. We have he was the one he was supposed to face Rob Best, which is actually how Maine and I got to appreciate him in the first place, because
that was the first. I think the first match you ever covered him on was him versus Rob Best, and we were like, "What?"
I remember being like, "Maine, dude, you have to."
I was like, I saw it. I was like, and we watched it. We're like, we got to cover this match on the show. We took a year and we can finally say his name correctly.
Yep, exactly. And then we also got to cover him at SAGC 7 last summer.
Yep. We've covered him a bunch of stuff. It's a perennial guy that's competing in the sub-only scene really frequently. We see him all over the place, and so it's cool to see him again in an SAGC main event.
And dude, Sean Ashley, he was like, overheard him saying like, in terms of talking about him, learning about him, like, Sean Ashley had submitted Frank Rosenthal by knee bar recently.
I think at Grappling. I think I saw this. I think I saw the match because it was on Reddit. Somebody posted about it on Reddit, and I was like, I gotta see who this guy is.
Yeah.
And
so really exciting.
Yeah, good guy.
Really, really awesome match.
And again, if you take Cockle to overtime, like, dude, Lutez took Cockle to overtime.
Yep. Yeah.
And like that's the level. Like,
19
Lutez,
minutes of it.
If Lutez is struggling to finish a dude, and that dude is a top brown belt in the world and like beating black belts on the world stage, and Sean can take him to overtime too. Like it speaks to the level that both of these guys are at.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like it was a super exciting event. You have anything else you want to add? Like again, really appreciate the guys from SAGC having us out again. Love doing the event. It's a lot of fun. Cannot wait for SAGC 8. I've got a word that like we might have done a good job, and Joe might have us back.
Oh, sweet.
So I'm pleased that we may be commentating SAGC 8.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun, man. Absolutely. It was an awesome event. It's really, really great.
So yeah, highly recommend you go back and watch. You can find it on the Facebook page for the Grappling Rewind as a cross post, or you can find it on the SAGC Facebook page under the live streams, live events. I think Joe is cutting it up and now going to put up individual matches over the next couple of days. I'm going to try to throw up a bunch of highlights on our Instagram and other social media stuff because it was a lot of fun. And again, I really love doing commentary. Like it just adds more aspects of stuff for like the super fight jiu-jitsu stuff that we do, and I just enjoy doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So that was SAGC. So on to our recap of Rise 7. This event happened this weekend as well, and I thought we'd talk about it. So we're going to start with this one. Want to go down the card and then talk about a couple matches?
Start at the top. So Pete Sell defeats Josh Berkman by Kimura. We have Chris Camuzzi drawing with Gian Valente. We have Adam Colari defeating Dennis Bermudez. Defeating him by draw, Emil. They drew. So again, Fries uses draws. If you're not gonna, they do draws for some of the main card fights, and they went to like decision for some of the lower card fights. The main card fights were I think 6 minutes. I think the Berkman and Sell match was a 10-minute match, but it might have been a 7-minute or something like that. Yeah. So those were super fights. I think for the, especially the title fights or anything that was dependent on that, they gave decisions. So, for example, Frank Rosenthal got a decision win over Carlos Rosado. We had Joao Miyao submitting Zach Maslany by heel hook. That was an awesome match. It was
a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it was a tough match for Zach to take because Joao Miyao is the current IBJJF world champion in the gi at the weight class.
And recently his gym has acquired Eddie Cummings, and you could see that Joao was getting pretty sophisticated with.
Would you say recently? A year? Probably a year, more than a year at this point?
Not more than a year.
Okay.
I think it's under a year, but still.
You could see the entries. You could see the changes. You could see the pummeling.
The chains were the most impressive thing that Joao was doing. So he, would chain a toe hold to a knee bar.
Dude, he had a nasty toe hold at one point.
Oh my gosh.
Like it was extended, but like he had turned the foot over on Maslany, and it was just like, jeez. And Emil was. We just watched this again with Emil, and Emil's does the thing Emil does when he's watching a deep toe hold. You don't like toe holds for some reason.
I don't because my legs pop.
Emil takes his glasses off and squints his eyes and turns his chin down like he's not looking, and like looks out of the tops of his eyes at the match. And I love watching matches with Emil when he does this because it just makes me laugh.
It's gross, but Zach Maslany answered with heel hook attempts of his own, and that's just a tough place to try to beat a Miyao brother. They just.
I don't recall the last time I've seen a Miyao brother get tapped with a footlock or a knee bar. We've seen those guys limp off the mat versus Tonin and Cummings and other guys, but it's been at least 3 years, if not 5 years. I think brown belt is the last time I've seen one of these guys get tapped with a footlock.
Yeah.
Not a black belt.
I can't remember.
So Miyao gets it done with 4:32 in round 1, or the only round, via heel hook.
So then we have Katya Leontieva defeating Cici Mena by guillotine.
And that is for the 115-pound belt.
We have Rey De Leon defeating Sergio Da Silva by heel hook. That was an awesome match too.
That was a lot of fun, dude. It was real tentative with Sergio trying to pass for a good portion of the match, and then Ray basically gets sort of like a double ankle sweep up and just enters into an entire like heel hook sequence with Sergio rolling, and
then Ray just getting deeper on each like it was just like it was like watching a snake strangle prey. It was like every motion just set that heel hook deeper and deeper, and it was an inside heel hook, which is just fucking.
And we kept sawing Sergio do the hover hand, like he was going to tap, not going to tap, hover hand.
Get that, especially with the inside heel hook.
Especially with a guy like Ray. Rey De Leon is a dude that is known for heel hook and do. It's 10th Planet New York. He runs 10th Planet New York.
Inside heel hooks will blow out so many ligaments. Like it
of them
does more damage than an outside heel hook.
Yeah, it blows out all of them.
Yeah.
And so Ray gets that, and now he is the number one contender to fight Frank Rosenthal for the 145-pound belt on the next Rise card. I think it's scheduled to be the next Rise card. It may be a future Rise card, but I'm pretty sure these guys are going to meet at the next Rise card, so that'll be exciting. For some reason, I feel like Rosenthal and Ray have met up before. I don't know why, but I feel like there'll be a rematch. So actually, before that matchup happens, I want to go back and figure that out. So
next up, we have Joe Mugnai defeating Alec Hubin by rear naked choke. We have Alex Bertrand drawing Alex Eklund. We have Katia Leontieva submitting Liz Camello by heel hook.
And that was the first round of the 4 women 115-pound bracket that happened.
And we have Cece Mana submitting Cheryl Rock by armbar.
And that was 9:30. She finished that right at the end of the match. It was real close to the end. So that was Rise. It's up on Fight Pass. You can watch it there. Again, it's really easy to tab through. Fight Pass is, I think, one of the better interfaces for stuff like that. You can just click all the way through stuff, and it works out really well. So go back and watch that. So into the preview section, we are going to preview Fight to Win 117 in San Diego, California. This event takes place on June 29th and starts at 8 p.m. It is going to be a late one for us. It is main evented by a 200-pound black belt gi bout, Kaynan Duarte versus Gutemberg Perreira. So this is actually not going to be for the title because Gutenberg, this is a different weight class. Gutenberg was the previous title holder, lost that to Herbert Santos, and so now I don't think this is for a title, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're Kane wouldn't fight for a title in the next couple bouts, but this will be a fun one.
Yeah. There's nothing more to say. We know both of these competitors. They're both really fucking exciting.
Dude,
so that's going to be
Perreira
awesome.
is hard to finish. He's had some slower matches on Fight to Win recently, but Keenan has not. And so it'll be interesting. I'm not sure if Duarte will be able to sub Perreira, but it'll be interesting to see how Keenan deals with Pereira's open guard and really slower paced guard work. If Duarte is going to really have that action pass act push the pace for 10 minutes, or if he's going to kind of play back and wait for Perreira to kind of overcommit on something. But Pereira's a hard dude to get past. I feel like this is going to be one that's going to be pressuring from Keenan on the top, trying to get past Pereira's guard, and I could see it going decision.
Possibly.
On to the next match. We have a 150-pound black belt gi bout.
Baret Yoshida versus Marcus Norat. That's going to be fucking awesome.
I love watching
Maine
Baret Yoshida.
both
Dude,
love Baret.
150 in the gi is going up for Baret.
Yeah.
I don't think Barrett's a 150. I think he's like a 145 or 140er usually, so it's cool. Cool to see him taking stuff at multiple weight classes.
Yep.
140-pound black belt gi match.
We have Jena Bishop versus Luiza Monteiro.
Dude, that'll be really good. These are two of the top black belt women in the world. This is. I'm guessing this is gonna be one of the fight of the nights. This should be a really exciting match. Do not miss that match.
Nope.
Super heavyweight black belt gi bout.
Matthew Palupele versus
correct.
Victor Barreto.
We have a 220-pound black belt gi bout.
Bruno Munduruka versus Marcelo Lucena.
With the confidence of Emil. 215-pound black belt gi bout.
Harlan Burke versus Ray Ron.
We have a 200-pound black belt gi bout.
Paul Silva versus Chris Stoltzman.
I love if I give you shit for the names and then I can't even read the weights correctly. 200-pound black belt gi bout.
Hagar Brito versus Nassar Loynab.
We have a 190-pound black belt gi match.
Johnny Souza versus Miles Lucas.
We have a 185-pound black belt gi match.
Denicius Wong versus Kuhio
Tabankura.
Thank you.
We have a 185-pound black belt gi bout.
Sergio Rios versus Ronaldo Jr.
180-pound black belt gi match.
Rafael De Leon versus Paulo Alves Magalhães.
170-pound black belt gi match.
Marcus Porter versus Alfredo Barham.
170-pound black belt gi match.
Ricky Nunez versus Peter Frank Silva.
Is it Peter or Pitter?
Peter.
It's Peter. 170-pound black belt no-gi bout.
Kevin Burbich versus Tom Galicio.
We've seen Kevin before. He's a fun dude to watch. He does some cool and entertaining stuff. 160-pound black belt gi bout.
Adam Mason versus Gabrielle Bergami.
145-pound black belt no-gi bout.
Heather Woods versus Sofia Nodera.
We have a 141-pound black belt gi bout.
Andre Pontes versus Pablo Dutra Mantovani.
Pablo Mantovani. Awesome. We have a 175-pound black belt judo bout. We're bringing the judo back. I love it.
Gabriel Mendez versus Fabricio Silva.
135-pound brown belt gi bout.
Michael Egley versus PJ Montano.
We got a bunch of other really exciting brown belt matches. I'm going to scroll through the card. We have a 155-pound brown belt gi bout.
Keith Krikorian versus Dan Dykeman. Great to see Keith back. It's been a little while since we've seen him compete.
We haven't seen him compete in a little bit, and he now has an ADCC bid too.
Yeah.
So everything is ADCC prep, and we've seen Dan on a bunch of cards on that Team No Sleep. So this is gonna probably be your brown belt fight of the night. both these guys come and like bring and push pressure and push a pace. So that it would not surprise me if that was. I think it's pretty safe to say it's either going to be submission of the night or fight of the night for the brown belt. So this looks to be a really, really fun card. Do not miss this one. I'm looking forward to it. So that does it for this week's show. That does it for part of this week's show. We're gonna do another show on Wednesday just to cover the other stuff that we didn't get a chance to cover on this show. We're gonna do the rest of the previews. We're gonna do the rest of the recaps, like Midwest finishers and what else are we recapping, Emil? Fight to Win. Yeah, we're gonna recap Fight to Win as well.
116. Yep,
116. So and then we're gonna do other previews and do other stuff. So look for that show Wednesday. There's just too much.
Thursday.
Sorry, we're gonna record it Wednesday. Looking for it Thursday. There was just too much stuff to cover this week, so we did want to cover a bunch more stuff. So we're just gonna do it. It's my show. It's our show. We can do it whenever we want to do it. That's when we're doing it.
More content for you guys.
Yeah, midweek shows. So, how'd you think about commentary? Would you enjoy it?
It was a ton of fun. It was a lot easier this time.
I did a ton more prep work.
Yeah, absolutely. Maine did an amazing job putting together all this information that he gathered about all the competitors, asking them really great questions in the kind of questionnaires. And honestly, like the matches were so fast paced. There was only a couple times where we had to kind of talk more broadly about the competitors themselves, and those were only in the longer overtimes. Yeah, but otherwise it was. Really
I had to go to the
exciting.
bathroom during the event one time, and I was like, when do I go? Because there's no good way. Like the bathroom was 20 feet from me at most, and I had to we had 30-second breaks between matches.
Yep.
And then so these guys would go match, and then one match would end, and it was like boom, the next match would go in far less than a minute. That camera would cut back over to us on commentary. We'd kind of talk about the match for a minute or talk about whatever for 20 to 30 seconds, and then Brad was up announcing the next fighters in. We were moving on to the next match. The pacing on the card was really good. I wish that more promotions would run as effectively as these guys. These guys are a smaller promotion, and it's awesome to see that how quickly they get both guys going. They understood that it was a live event, and if you're watching on stream or watching in person, that you need to have the next match ready really quickly. And I really appreciate when cards do that. So that was awesome.
Absolutely.
But as a result, I had a really hard time picking when to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, it was great.
That was fun. What else you got going on this week, Emil?
That's it, man. I'm just recouping, watching more jiu-jitsu. It's gonna be great.
It's going to be awesome. So, as always, on the show, I'm your host, Maine.
I'm Emil.
And we have the Grappling Rewind. See you on the mats. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.